The research ship Gentle Dawn was dying. It floated in the cold darkness of space near the star called Kevin 7, and inside its broken walls, 43 scientists and crew members were running out of time. Navigator Teelan Sar pressed her thin fingers against the glass window and watched the stars spin slowly past. Her skin, which was almost see-through like a jellyfish, flickered with patterns of fear and worry. This was how her species, the Utari, showed their feelings. They could not hide their emotions even if they wanted to. The attack had come 3 hours ago. Pirates from the Vex Syndicate had appeared from nowhere, their ugly ships surrounding the Gentle Dawn like wolves around a wounded deer. The Utari were peaceful scientists. They studied plants and animals from different worlds. They had no real weapons, no soldiers, no way to fight back. Captain Morath had tried to run, but the pirate ships were faster. They fired their weapons and tore holes in the Gentle Dawn's body. The engine room was gone now, filled with fire and twisted metal. The weapon systems, what little they had, were completely destroyed. Even the life support machines were failing, and the air was getting thin and cold. The pirates wanted what the Gentle Dawn carried in its storage rooms. The ship held samples of plants from 100 different worlds, including some that could cure terrible diseases. These samples were worth more money than most people could imagine. The Vex Syndicate would kill everyone on board to get them. "How much time do we have?" Captain Morath asked. He was an old Utari, his skin darker and thicker than the younger crew members. He had traveled through space for 60 years and had never seen anything like this. Teelan looked at the screens in front of her. The numbers were not good. The pirates are holding position outside. They are waiting for our shields to fail completely. Maybe 2 hours. After that, they will board us and take what they want. And the life support? Teelan's skin flickered with more fear patterns. 3 hours. Maybe less. The oxygen is leaking from the holes in the hull. Captain Morath closed his 4 eyes in thought. His crew was looking at him, waiting for orders. Some of the younger ones were crying, their transparent skin showing all their terror. He had to do something. He had to try. "Talon," he said slowly, "can we still send messages?" The navigator checked her equipment. "Yes, Captain. The communication system still works. But who would we call? We are 3 days away from any Confederation patrol route. No one can reach us in time." "Send a message anyway," Captain Morath said. "Send it on all frequencies. Send it to every ship, every station, every corner of space that can hear us. Tell them we need help. Tell them where we are. Maybe someone is closer than we think." Teelan nodded and began to work. Her fingers moved across the controls, and soon the distress signal was flying outward into the darkness of space. It was a simple message, repeated over and over again. "This is the Utari research vessel Gentle Dawn. We are under attack by pirates. Our location is Sector 774, near the Kevin star system. We need immediate help. Please respond." The message traveled at the speed of light, spreading in all directions like ripples in a pond. It passed dead moons and empty planets. It flew past asteroid fields and clouds of cosmic dust. It reached the edges of Confederation space, where friendly ships might hear it. But the message did not stop there. It kept going, moving into regions of space that were marked on every map with warnings. It traveled into a zone that the entire galaxy had agreed to avoid, a place surrounded by satellites that told everyone to stay away. This was the quarantine zone. Inside it was a small yellow star and a blue planet covered with oceans and clouds. The planet was called Earth, and the creatures living on it were called humans. The Galactic Confederation had known about humans for 300 years. They had studied them from far away, watching through telescopes and sending small probes to observe. What they saw had terrified them. Earth was a death world. Everything on it was designed to kill. The gravity was crushing, almost twice as strong as most planets with intelligent life. The atmosphere was thick with oxygen, a gas that was poisonous to many species. The planet had earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, and floods. It was covered with predators that hunted and killed. Diseases lived everywhere, constantly changing and adapting. And the humans themselves were the most frightening things of all. They were endurance hunters, able to chase prey for days without stopping. Their bodies could heal from wounds that would kill other species. They ate both plants and meat, and they could survive on almost anything. They fought wars against each other with terrible weapons. They had already split the atom and reached their own moon. The Confederation had made a decision long ago. The humans were too dangerous. They must never be allowed to leave their planet. They must never know that other intelligent life existed in the galaxy. So the quarantine was created, and the humans were left alone, watched, but never contacted. But the humans were smarter than anyone expected. 50 years ago, one of the Confederation's observation probes had crashed in a desert on Earth. The humans found it. They studied it. They took it apart and learned its secrets. Now the humans had their own ships. They had faster-than-light engines built from stolen technology. They had weapons that they had designed themselves, weapons that were brutal and effective. And they had been sitting in their quarantine zone, watching and waiting, looking for a chance to show the galaxy what they could do. The distress signal from the Gentle Dawn reached Earth in less than 2 hours. It was picked up by listening stations on the dark side of Earth's moon. Stations that the Confederation did not know existed. Within minutes, the message was being played in a large room deep inside a military base. Officers in gray uniforms listened carefully. They looked at star maps. They made calculations. They smiled. Admiral Helena Cross stood at the center of the room, her arms crossed over her chest. She was a small woman with gray hair and cold blue eyes that seemed to look right through anyone who met them. She had been waiting for this moment her entire life. How far? She asked. 12 hours at maximum speed, one of her officers replied. We can make it. Helena nodded slowly. Outside the quarantine zone, someone was in trouble. Someone had called for help. And for the first time in 300 years, humanity was going to answer. Prepare the fleet, she said. All ships. We leave in 1 hour. The quarantine was about to end. The human fleet gathered in the shadow of Mars, far from the eyes of anyone who might be watching Earth. 12 warships floated in the red darkness, their engines glowing like angry stars. They were ugly ships, built for war and nothing else. No curves, no beauty, just hard angles and thick armor plates covered with weapons. Admiral Helena Cross stood on the bridge of the largest ship, the Manifest Destiny. It was a dreadnought, a monster of metal and fire that could destroy a small moon if she gave the order. Around her, human officers worked at their stations, their faces lit by the glow of computer screens. Helena was 62 years old, but she moved like someone much younger. Her body was hard and strong from a lifetime of military training. Her eyes were the color of ice, and they never seemed to blink. She had fought in 3 wars on Earth before joining the secret space program, and she had killed more enemies than she could count. But today was different. Today, she would not be fighting other humans. Today, she would be fighting for humanity itself. Status report, she said. Commander James Wright, her second-in-command, stepped forward. He was a tall black man with a shaved head and a voice like thunder. All 12 ships are ready, Admiral. Weapons charged. Engines at full power. The crews are standing by for your orders. Helena nodded. She looked around the bridge at her people. They were the best humanity had to offer, the strongest and smartest and bravest. They had trained for years for this moment. knowing that one day they would leave Earth and face whatever was waiting in the stars. "Before we go," Helena said, "I want to tell you something. I want you to understand what we are doing and why." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone turned to look at their admiral. 300 years ago, Helena began, the galaxy decided that we were too dangerous to exist. They looked at our planet, at our history, at our nature, and they were afraid. They called us Deathworlders. They put a fence around our solar system, told us to stay inside like animals in a cage. Her voice was calm, but there was fire behind her words. They never asked us what we wanted. They never tried to understand us. They just decided that we were monsters, and they left us here to die or kill each other. They thought we would never figure out how to leave. She smiled, and it was not a friendly smile. They were wrong. Helena walked to the front of the bridge, where a large window showed the stars beyond. Out there, right now, there is a ship full of innocent scientists. They are being attacked by pirates who want to kill them and steal their work. They sent a message asking for help. They thought their allies would come to save them. She turned back to face her crew. Their allies are too far away. They cannot reach them in time. But we can. We are closer than anyone else. We heard their cry for help, and now we have a choice to make. We could stay here, she continued. We could hide in our quarantine zone and pretend we never heard anything. We could let those scientists die and keep ourselves safe. That would be the smart thing to do. That would be the careful thing to do. Helena's eyes grew hard as stone. But that is not what humans do. We do not ignore people who need help. We do not stand by while the innocent are murdered. We are not the monsters the galaxy thinks we are. We are something else. Something they have never seen before. She raised her voice so that every person on every ship in the fleet could hear her through the communication system. Today, we break the quarantine. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity really is. Not animals. Not monsters. Warriors. Protectors. The most dangerous friends anyone could ever have. Commander Wright stepped forward. "Admiral, the fleet is ready. All ships report green across the board." Helena looked at the stars one more time. Somewhere out there, 43 aliens were waiting to die. They had called for help, never imagining that their call would reach the one species the galaxy feared most. "Engage faster than light engines," Helena ordered. "Take us to Sector 774, maximum speed." The ships began to hum with power. The engines, built from stolen alien technology and improved by human engineers, started to glow brighter and brighter. Space itself seemed to bend around the fleet, twisting like water going down a drain. Then, in a flash of light that would have blinded anyone watching, the 12 human warships disappeared. They were moving faster than light now, tearing through the fabric of space itself, racing toward a battle that would change history. On Earth, the people went about their normal lives. They went to work, played with their children, watched television, and slept in their beds. They had no idea that everything was about to change. They had no idea that far away in the darkness of space, their species was about to announce itself to the universe. And the Galactic Confederation. Warning lights began to flash on 100 different monitoring stations. The quarantine satellites detected the human ships leaving, and they sent alerts to every government in the known galaxy. The Deathworlders were loose. The humans were coming. For 3 centuries, the galaxy had slept peacefully, knowing that the most dangerous species in existence was safely locked away on their blue planet. That peace was over now. A new age was beginning, an age of fear and wonder and terrible possibility. The human fleet flew through the strange tunnels of faster-than-light space, moving toward their destination. Inside the ships, soldiers checked their weapons and armor. Pilots ran through their attack plans. Medical teams prepared for injuries. Everyone was focused and ready. Admiral Helena Cross sat in her command chair, watching the swirling colors of FTL travel on the main screen. She thought about what was waiting for them. Alien pirates. Alien victims. A universe that had tried to forget that humanity existed. Arrival in 11 hours, Admiral. Commander Wright reported. Helena nodded. 11 hours. Then, everything would be different. She closed her eyes and remembered something her grandfather had told her when she was a little girl. He had been a soldier too, a man who had fought in wars on Earth and seen terrible things. But he had also saved people, protected the weak, and stood against evil when others ran away. The universe is dark and cold, he had said, but humans carry fire inside them. We bring light wherever we go. Sometimes that light burns. Sometimes it warms. But it always changes things. Helena opened her eyes. In 11 hours, she would bring human fire to the galaxy. The pirates would burn. The innocent would be saved. And the universe would learn what happened when you called the Deathworlders for help. The fleet flew on through the endless night, carrying humanity's answer to a desperate prayer. The gentle dawn was almost dead. The lights inside the ship flickered on and off, sometimes leaving the crew in complete darkness for minutes at a time. The air was thin now, and every breath felt like trying to drink through a tiny straw. Some of the weaker crew members had already passed out from lack of oxygen. Tilene and Sar sat on the cold floor of the bridge, wrapped in a thermal blanket that did little to stop her shivering. Her transparent skin had turned pale and gray, showing how close she was to death. Beside her, Captain Morris leaned against a broken console, his 4 eyes half closed. "No one is coming," whispered a young scientist named Kelleth. His voice was weak and full of despair. "We sent our message hours ago. If anyone was going to save us, they would be here by now." Captain Morris wanted to argue, wanted to give his crew hope, but he had none left to give. The Confederation patrol ships were too far away. The pirates outside were just waiting, patient as vultures, knowing that soon the shields would fail and they could board the ship and take everything. Tilene looked at her scanner one more time, not really expecting to see anything. The screen was cracked and dim, but it still worked. She watched the 4 pirate ships sitting outside, like sharks around a wounded fish. Then something changed. The scanner made a sound that Tilene had never heard before. New contacts were appearing on the screen, coming out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Tilene sat up straight, her skin flickering with sudden hope. "Captain," she said, her voice barely working. "Captain, someone is here. New ships, 12 of them, coming toward us." Morith opened his eyes. "Confederation?" Tilene looked at the scanner data. The ships were not in any database she knew. Their design was unknown. Their energy signatures were strange and powerful. "I do not know what they are," she admitted. The pirate ships noticed the newcomers too. Tilene watched on her scanner as the 4 Vex vessels turned away from the gentle dawn and moved to face the new threat. The pirate captain, a cruel creature named Torgan, who had killed hundreds of innocent people in his career, sent a message demanding that the strange ships identify themselves. The response came in a language that the universal translator had to work hard to understand. It was harsh and direct, without any of the polite formalities that most species used. "This is Admiral Helena Cross of the United Earth Fleet. You have attacked a vessel that sent a distress signal. You have one chance to surrender. If you do not surrender immediately, we will destroy you." Silence filled the gentle dawn's bridge. Earth. The message came from Earth, the death world, the quarantine zone, the place that every child in the galaxy was taught to fear. Torgan, the pirate captain, laughed at the threat. He had never heard of Earth. He did not know what Deathworlders were. He only saw that his 4 ships were facing 12 strange vessels, and he decided that the numbers were not too bad. "Unknown vessels," Torgan replied. "This is Vex Syndicate territory. Leave now, or we will add your ships to our collection." He ordered his fleet to attack. What happened next took only 93 seconds. But Teal Sar would remember every moment for the rest of her life. The human ships moved differently than any vessel Talon had ever seen. They accelerated so fast that they should have crushed everyone inside. They turned at angles that seemed impossible. They flew like predators, spreading out to surround the pirate ships before the Vex could even understand what was happening. The first pirate ship exploded before it could fire a single shot. Something hit it, some kind of weapon that moved too fast to see, and the whole vessel came apart in a ball of fire and debris. The second ship tried to run. It turned and pushed its engines to maximum, trying to escape into faster-than-light travel. But two human ships cut off its escape route. They fired together, their weapons slicing through the pirates' shields like they were made of paper. The ship broke in half and died. The third ship managed to fire its weapons. The beams of energy raced toward the nearest human vessel and hit its shields. The human ship did not even slow down. It flew straight through the attack, taking the damage without caring, and rammed its weapons into the pirate's hull. The explosion lit up the darkness of space. The fourth ship, Torgan's command vessel, tried to surrender. The pirate captain screamed into his communicator that he gave up, that he would do anything, that he did not want to die. But the humans did not destroy his ship. Instead, something attached to its hull, cutting through the metal. Humans in armored suits entered the pirate vessel. They moved through the halls like ghosts, shooting anyone who resisted. They were fast and brutal and completely without mercy. In less than 5 minutes, every pirate on board was either dead or captured. The battle was over. 4 pirate ships destroyed or captured. 0 human casualties. 93 seconds. Then the communication system on the Gentle Dawn crackled with a new message. "Utari vessel Gentle Dawn. This is Admiral Cross. We received your distress call. Do you require assistance?" Captain Morith found his voice, though it was shaking. You are from Earth. You are Deathworlders." There was a pause. Then the human admiral spoke again, and there was something in her voice that might have been amusement. "We prefer the term human. Now, do you want our help or not?" Captain Morith looked at his dying crew, at the thin air and failing systems, at the debris of the pirate fleet floating outside. He had spent his whole life being taught that humans were monsters, that they would kill and destroy everything they touched. But these monsters had just saved his life. "Yes," he said. "Please help us." Within minutes, human ships had connected to the Gentle Dawn. Fresh air began flowing into the dying vessel. Human medical teams wearing suits that let them survive in Utari atmosphere came aboard and began treating the wounded crew. They were gentle and careful, their strange 5-fingered hands surprisingly soft. Teelan watched a human doctor treat a young scientist who had stopped breathing. The doctor worked quickly, using machines and medicines that Teelan did not recognize. After a few terrifying seconds, the young Utari gasped and opened his eyes. The human doctor smiled. It was a strange expression, showing the teeth that Teelan knew could bite through bone. But somehow, it did not seem threatening. It seemed kind. "He will be fine," the doctor said. "Just needs rest and oxygen." Teelan's skin flickered with patterns of confusion and wonder. These were not monsters. These were not the terrible demons that the galaxy had warned her about. These were people. Strange, frightening, impossibly powerful people. But people, the Deathworlders, had come. And they had come to help. The news spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Within hours, every species in the Confederation knew what had happened. The Deathworlders had broken quarantine. The humans had left Earth. The monsters were loose among the stars, on 1,000 different worlds. Governments held emergency meetings. Military commanders called their fleets to battle stations. Ordinary citizens watched the news broadcasts and felt fear crawling up their spines. Parents held their children close and wondered if the universe, as they knew it was ending. But along with the fear came something else. A story. A strange, confusing story that did not match what everyone expected. The humans had not attacked anyone. They had not destroyed cities or enslaved populations. They had saved a Utari research vessel from pirates. They had treated the wounded crew with kindness. They had captured the pirate leader and handed him over to Confederation authorities, along with detailed information about the Vex Syndicate's criminal operations, and then they had asked to talk. The Galactic Council met on the great station at the center of Confederation space. Representatives from 40 different species gathered in a room that was designed to make everyone feel small. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into darkness. The walls were covered with screens showing the faces of billions of citizens watching from their home worlds. Ambassador Yeel of the Harmony Collective spoke first. His species looked like tall, thin insects with golden shells, and they'd always been the most afraid of humans. "We must act immediately," he said, his voice high and sharp. "The Deathworlders have proven that the quarantine cannot contain them. We must gather our fleets and destroy them before they destroy us." Many representatives shouted in agreement. The fear in the room was thick enough to taste. But then High Arbiter Quellis stood up. She was the leader of the Utari delegation, an old woman with skin like clouded glass and eyes that had seen 1,000 years of history. "I asked the council to wait," she said. "I ask you to listen before you decide." "Listen to what?" Ambassador Yeel demanded. "The Deathworlders are killers. Everyone knows this. Their planet created them to destroy. Their planet created them to survive." High Arbiter Quellis replied calmly. "And yesterday, they used their strength to save 43 of my people." I asked the council to hear testimony from someone who was there, someone who met the humans face to face. The room grew quiet. High Arbiter Quellis gestured, and a young Utari woman walked slowly to the speaker's platform. It was Teelan Sar, still weak from her ordeal, but determined to speak. Teelan looked out at the council, at all the alien faces watching her with fear and suspicion. Her skin flickered with nervousness, but she made herself stand tall. "I was the navigator on the Gentle Dawn," she began. "I was there when the pirates attacked us. I was there when we sent our distress call. I was there when the humans came." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "I was taught to fear humans my whole life. We all were. We were told that they were monsters, that they would kill without mercy, that they were too dangerous to ever be allowed among the stars." Teelan's voice grew stronger. "But what I saw was different. Yes, the humans are dangerous. I watched them destroy 4 pirate ships in less than 2 minutes. Their weapons are terrible. Their soldiers are frightening. They move and fight in ways that seem impossible." She looked around the room. "But they did not use that power against us. They used it to protect us. After the battle, their doctors came onto our ship and treated our wounded. Their admiral sat with our captain and shared food with him. They laughed together. They talked about their homes, their families, their hopes for the future." The council chamber was completely silent now. Every eye was fixed on the young navigator. "The humans could have killed us," Teelan said. "They could have taken our cargo, destroyed our ship, and no one would ever have known. The quarantine satellites lost track of them. They could have done anything. But instead, they saved our lives and asked for nothing in return." She let that truth hang in the air for a moment. Admiral Cross told our captain something that I will never forget. She said that humans do not ignore people who need help. She said that is not what they are. She said they are protectors. Ambassador Yield stood up angrily. Pretty words mean nothing. The humans are predators. Their entire evolutionary history is one of violence and death. So is ours, Teelan replied quietly. Every species in this room evolved from something that had to fight to survive. We all have violence in our past. The question is what we choose to do with it. She turned to face the entire council one last time. The humans have made their choice. They chose to answer a call for help. They chose to protect strangers they had never met. They chose to be something other than what we expected. Teelan stepped back from the platform. Maybe the quarantine was a mistake. Maybe we were wrong about them all along. I am not asking you to trust the humans completely. I am only asking you to give them a chance to show us who they really are. The debate went on for hours after that. Ambassador Yield and his allies argued for war. High Arbiter Qualis and others argued for peace. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance. In the end, the vote was close. But the side of peace won by a narrow margin. The Council agreed to open diplomatic channels with Earth. They would talk to the humans, meet with them, try to understand them. Not everyone was happy with this decision. In the shadows of the great station, figures met in secret. They were powerful beings who had good reasons to fear what humanity might become. They had built their empires on the idea that the Deathworlders would never leave their cage. Now the cage was open, and these shadow figures knew that they had to act quickly, before humanity became too strong to stop. The council is full of fools, one of them said. They think they can negotiate with predators. Then we will do what the council is too weak to do, another replied. The humans must be destroyed, whatever it takes. In the darkness, plans were made. Assassins were hired. Weapons were prepared. The humans had made friends in the galaxy today, but they had also made enemies. Powerful enemies who would stop at nothing to put them back in their cage. The war for humanity's place in the stars had only just begun. 1 year had passed since the rescue of the Gentle Dawn. 1 year of negotiations, arguments, and difficult conversations. 1 year of fear and hope and slow, painful progress. Admiral Helena Cross stood on the observation deck of Confederation Station Prime, the great meeting place at the heart of the galaxy. Through the massive windows, she watched ships from dozens of different species come and go. Some were beautiful, like living crystals floating through space. Others were strange and alien, shapes that human eyes could barely understand. All of them moved through the station's traffic lanes, following rules that had been written long before humanity knew the stars existed. Behind her, she could hear the sounds of celebration. In the main conference hall, the Treaty of First Contact was being signed. Human diplomats in formal clothes sat beside alien leaders from 40 different worlds. Cameras broadcast the ceremony to billions of viewers across the galaxy. The treaty officially ended 300 years of isolation. Humanity was no longer quarantined. Humans could travel freely, trade with other species, and take their place among the civilizations of the known. Galaxy. It had not been easy to reach this moment. Helena remembered the assassination attempts. Twice, someone had tried to kill the human diplomatic team. Once with poison, once with a bomb. Both times, the attacks had failed, but they had shown how much some beings feared the idea of humans walking free among the stars. She remembered the political sabotage. False reports had been spread claiming that humans were secretly building invasion fleets. Fake videos had shown human soldiers committing terrible crimes. Each lie had to be carefully exposed and corrected, a process that took months of patient work. She remembered the 2 incidents that almost destroyed everything. Once, a human soldier had gotten into a fight with an alien merchant who had insulted his family. Another time, a human trading ship had fired on vessels that it thought were pirates, only to discover they were actually a species that looked similar to the Vex Raiders. Each incident had been used by humanity's enemies to argue that the Deathworlders could never be trusted. Each time, the peace process had nearly collapsed. Each time, patient diplomats on both sides had worked to repair the damage and keep moving forward. But now it was done. The treaty was signed. Humanity was free. Helena heard footsteps behind her and turned to see a familiar figure approaching. Captain Morath walked slowly, his 4 eyes blinking in the bright light of the observation deck. His gait was unsteady. Confederation Station Prime used gravity similar to Earth, and the Utari were not built for such heavy conditions. "Admiral Cross," he said, his voice warm with respect. "I hoped I would find you here. I wanted to congratulate you." Helena smiled slightly. "The victory belongs to the diplomats, Captain. I just scared people into listening." Morath made a sound that might have been a laugh. Do not underestimate the value of a good scare. Sometimes fear is the only thing that makes people pay attention. They stood together in silence for a moment, watching the ships outside. A human frigate was escorting a Utari transport, flying beside it like a guardian angel, protecting it from the same kind of pirates who had once nearly killed Morath and his crew. "I have a question," Morath said finally. "Something I have wondered about since the day you saved us." "Ask," Helena replied. "When you received our distress call, why did you come? You could have stayed hidden in your quarantine zone. You could have waited for a better opportunity, a safer situation. Instead, you risked everything to save strangers you had never met. Why?" Helena thought about the question for a long time. Outside the window, the stars shone with ancient light. Somewhere out there, Earth was spinning on its axis, carrying billions of humans who were only now learning what their species had done. "Because your signal reached us," she said at last. "And where we come from, you do not ignore a cry for help. It does not matter who is asking. It does not matter if helping is dangerous. If someone needs you and you can help them, you help them. That is what humans do." She turned to face Morath, and he saw something in her eyes that made his heart beat faster. Behind those predator eyes, behind the cold face of a warrior who had killed more enemies than she could count, there was something else. Something that looked like hope. "You'd called us Deathworlders," Helena said. "Fleet of Doom, monsters, and maybe we are all of those things. Our planet made us hard. Our history made us dangerous. We have done terrible things to each other over the centuries. We are not innocent." She looked back at the stars. But maybe that is exactly what the galaxy needed. Maybe what all these peaceful, gentle civilizations needed was something scary enough to protect them. Something that could look a pirate fleet in the eye and make them run. Something that did not know how to give up or back down or accept defeat. A smile crossed her face, showing those teeth that evolution had designed for tearing meat. "We spent 300 years locked in a cage, being told we were monsters. Now we are out, and we have decided what kind of monsters we want to be." "What kind is that?" Morath asked. "The kind that guards the door," Helena replied. "The kind that stands between the innocent and the darkness. The kind that makes the bad things in the universe afraid to come out at night." She placed her hand on the window, her fingers spread against the cold glass. "You sent a signal looking for allies. Instead, you got us. The Deathworlders. The Fleet of Doom. The scariest thing in the galaxy." Helena turned to face Morath one final time. "And now we are friends. Heaven help anyone who tries to hurt our friends." Morath stood in silence, feeling the weight of Earth gravity pressing down on him, looking at this strange and terrifying creature who had traveled across the stars to save his life. "I think," he said slowly, "that the galaxy is going to be a very different place now." Helena nodded. "Yes, it is. But different can be good. Different can be better." She offered her hand in the human gesture of friendship. Morath took it, feeling the strength in her grip, the warmth of her skin. "Welcome to the stars," Morith said. "We are glad you are finally here." Helena smiled, and for the first time in her life, the Admiral of the Fleet of Doom felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Outside the window, a human ship and a Utari vessel flew side by side into the endless night, carrying hope into a galaxy that had learned something new about the universe. Monsters could be heroes. Deathworlders could be friends. And sometimes, the most dangerous thing in the stars was exactly what you needed to save you. The distress signal had been meant for all eyes. Instead, it had called the humans. The galaxy would never be the same.